Hello and welcome back to Access Chat. We're here for another of our weekly chats, and I'm delighted this week that we're joined by Michael Fembek, who is the director of the Zero Project. Zero Project has been doing amazing work over many years now, and if you don't know about it, you're about to be blown away by all of the things that they're doing. Every year there is a conference in Vienna. Well, this last year was online, but generally there's been a conference in Vienna, which is really a great gathering of people doing great disability inclusion work around the world. And Zero Project is a coordination and curation hub for all of this great work. So, Michael, it's a real pleasure to have you join us today. Tell us more about Zero, the organization, what you're doing, and of course, how you came to be in this space.
Yeah, thanks, Nils. I'm delighted to be here today. Yeah, the Zero Project is around for some 10, 11 years now. To tell the story a little from the beginning, so my personal background is I'm a journalist. I was 20 years working for an Austrian business magazine. So my world until starting with the Zero Project was the world of stories, of creating, of finding the right people, telling their stories right, but also analyzing. And the magazine also organized conferences. It was a business magazine, it's still around, and it was all about financials. I would say around 2007, 2008, I decided that in the second half of my professional career, I want to do something different. The good thing about being a journalist, you know a lot of people. And I also knew Martin Essl, who comes from a well-known Austrian business family. And he, at this stage, was one of the few Austrians who started a charitable foundation. And the company that he owned at this time was this kind of do-it-yourself company like Kingfisher in the UK or Lowe's or Home Depot in the US. And this company had a large and well-established employment model for people with disabilities. So at this peak, this company employed, I think, some 400 people with disabilities. In every store, there was at least one person with a disability. So when I came with Martin, after some initial other work, we decided that we should use the strength and this expertise of the company and also of the family and my journalistic background and do some kind of research projects that supports especially also the CRPD, the Convention for the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, that was also quite new at this time, 2008, 2009, 2010. And we tried to create a project that supports the implementation of the CRPD. Yeah, and we did some work on indicators, measured how countries are doing and what kind of progress they are making in the implementation. But after some time, we realized that my original strength, this storytelling, telling the story of good models, finding the right language that other people understand what's going on, trying to make this as connective as possible so that people want to talk to each other because there's a story here. That this is also the strength and this is a big need. And I'm now jumping to the work that we're doing right now. A big need for a kind of, as you said, a curation hub. It's also a kind of convening hub. It's a kind of catalyst where on a professional, neutral, pure level, innovations are selected, showcased, presented, and then in a way that the people that are doing this work are also the one that use it or are encouraged to use it. So it's a network project together with this curation and selection model. We're not a university. We don't do research for the sake of research. We do it because we wanted to present and promote it with people who can do that. So those decision makers, those policy makers, those business leaders that are basically in a situation and interested, they should get better information, better contacts, get in touch with people they would not have met, understand the story they would not have understood. So this is what we are here for, and this is what we developed in the past 8 years. With and I'm stopping here with an annual with a 4 years research cycle. We are covering 4 topics. which are employment, accessibility, education, and independent living / political participation in a 4-year cycle. This year we are again starting with accessibility, and around this topic we have a full year cycle of research, then selection, then presenting the results, publications, and with the Zero Project Conference in February as our highlight flagship event, and then restarting this cycle. So this is the backbone of what we're doing. And the vehicle is the Essl Foundation, based in Vienna. It's a comparatively small foundation who is using all its means basically to run the Zero Project, and also getting some projects done and on the ground as well. That's the core story.
Excellent. And I know that many of my colleagues and friends in the community, I was going to say industry, because it's both an industry and a community, you know, all attend. I've had the pleasure of presenting, albeit remotely, and all say that there is something special about the feeling of community and common purpose about the events. So I think that congratulations to you and the organization for creating something that's really special. I'm really interested in the fact that you have, you know, a global focus, but also a focus in the developing countries. And this is an area that we're always interested in on Access Chat, because there's all too often a overemphasis on the Anglosphere. So what are some of the innovations that you see, you know, particularly coming out of Africa and Latin America, for example, where there's differences both culturally and linguistically?
Mm-hmm. Well, let me start with a little loop, but I promise to come back directly to your question.
Of course.
I think what's highly needed, and this is also one of the reasons why we got so much attention in such a comparatively short time, is there's a lot of innovations out there, but they never see the light. They are recognized and well known in a small community, maybe a city, maybe a smaller region, even some people use it, but they maybe even don't know themselves that they have created something that's innovative and that's unique. And they also only get the attention because of the network that we are developing. And then with the report and with the conference, these innovations see the light and get an opportunity also to be connected with people they wouldn't have a chance from organizations like the World Bank, like UN organizations, WHO, ILO, and the likes. So this is, I think, also important to follow up directly on the question. And this is especially true outside, let's say, the English-speaking world, and especially for an African context or a Latin American context. Many things happen there that would not be seen or recognized or be connective to anything happening outside the small worlds, and great things happen there. No? So with the Zero Project and its approach to be really global from its beginning, and also being from Austria and not from the Anglo-American context, or whatever you call this. We have also, for example, we have Eastern Europe on our doorstep. No? So we started right away with working with in countries and with our peers in Bosnia or in Moldova and Serbia. So looking outside our own language, crossing our own language barriers was at the beginning of the Zero Project, and then working soon with the European Union and getting the attention of UN organizations encouraged us to follow up on this, because this need was expressed by many stakeholders. They say, look, especially as Africa, you have a model that can work there. Do it, because if you do it, then it's getting more interesting. So there was a kind of pull effect from major organizations that found our work interesting and then encouraged us to continue that way. Looking at, let me give you 3 ideas about Latin America, Africa, and also India and the whole South Asian continent or subcontinent. In Latin America, we now found a great partner in Chile, which is Fundación Descúbreme, and they have now covered and fully accepted the Zero Project model, translating everything that we do in Spanish and trying to establish a kind of regional hub in the Latin American context. So the reports that we're publishing, they republish in Spanish. The Zero Project conference that we do, they are doing a Latin America conference in Santiago in Spanish language. And I think this makes a lot of sense because thinking of it, of course, someone from Paraguay looks what's happening in Chile or in Argentina, and maybe not what's happening in Namibia or in Denmark. No? And it's in their language. So this regionalization, this more context orientation is especially important in a continent with like Latin America, which except apart from Brazil and a few Caribbean states all have a common language. So this makes a lot of sense. It is a very fruitful development of the Zero Project, and we're looking for more partners like Fundación Descúbreme. Ideally, it's foundations who have this kind of mission and who have also kind of liberty to do this more on a meta level work that we are doing. In Africa, we made a lot of progress because one of the drivers are international development agencies like Light for the World, or Christopher Blind Mission, or Sight Savers, Leonard Cheshire Disability, Humanity and Inclusion from France, and also the developing agencies that support their work, the Disability Rights Fund, many of them working there or funding projects there. And they helped us also develop an infrastructure, meaning people that are able and willing to peer review models and compare them, which is also core to our model. Now, thinking of it, we don't know a lot here in Vienna on the Zero Project, especially not in this context, but we have, as you mentioned at the beginning, a good network now also in an African context where our network partners are able and engaging in peer reviewing and voting, and then also communicating and sharing models and bringing those stakeholders together is thinking of it a value in itself. So we're developing now networks and platforms where these developing agencies and the DPOs are also working together, getting a platform, a webinar where they can share thoughts, where they can discuss about an innovation that worked in Burundi and how to transfer this to another context. So this is what works in Africa. And of course, they're especially proud and willing to engage because for them it's even more rare and seldom that they get the kind of international recognition and attention. So Africa is a context and a geography that very much wants to engage with us, not only we with them. Both is necessary. And finally, in India, I think it's the country with the third most awardees that we got in our system out of 660. I think maybe 5% are from India, and also a lot from Nepal and Bangladesh. They are also highly interested in working and presenting their work and also interacting. So this is another, let's say, low-income context where we are really present.
Amazing.
That's amazing. It's amazing. I've been following the work for so long, but y'all done so much. It's hard to keep up with everything. So we definitely want to encourage the community to go out to the website and look at it. But Michael, how have, I think it's wonderful that you've been focused on the DPOs, the disability persons organizations, and the partners. And I really liked that y'all were focused on the developing countries, because what I keep seeing is I'm seeing innovations coming from other places outside, places like US and UK. And I think a lot of the stories that you're finding, a lot of the efforts that you're finding, they're very innovative and stuff that we can actually apply to other parts of the world. But I was just curious, how are corporations supporting what you're doing? Because I know corporations want to be more engaged in these conversations, and it seems like supporting Zero Project would be a really good way for them to truly have impact. So I was just curious about that. And then I know Antonio has a question after me.
Yeah, thank you. It's an excellent question and something that we're working on and dealing with all the time. Actually, we have some companies that they keep engaging with us and working with us, including nominating their own models. So I think from Barclays Bank from UK, they have almost an innovation every year and an award. I think they got already 3 or 4 in the past 10 years. We also have some peers from Austria, like Bank Austria, or the Austrian Railway Company and the Austrian Postal Company. So we got some, but actually, to be honest, this is not the easiest community that for us to work with. Thinking of what we do, of course, we have some projects and models and technologies that companies and businesses interested in. But a lot is, for example, on independent living. It's on getting people out of institutions. It's about access to health services from the public sector. It's about political participation, organizing people in a way that they have their voice and so on. This is not really business oriented, so but it is core to our work, and we don't leave our mission by a millimeter. There's only parts of our work that are really interesting for business. That's one of the answers why we are thinking that we could do better, to be honest. On the other hand, employment models are core to the business sector, and technology, many innovations in the technology are also relevant and very much interesting for the business sector. And this is where our current focus in, also with this year's coming focus on accessibility. So we definitely have a focus on the business sector, and we have also internally reorganized ourselves a little. So we have now, we call them the sector heads. So we have Anna from our team, who is in charge now of the business sector, and Wilfried, who is in charge of ICT/business sector. So you see, we really want to develop this. We also would see potential for closer cooperations, for in-kind support, but actually it's we did not do so well, to be really honest. We would be happy to directly engage more.
And maybe we can help with that, because I know a lot of people from corporations are part of the Access community. So the Access chat community, I should say. And recently Twitter verified our account, which was really cool. So Twitter's been very supportive about what we're doing as well. So yeah. We appreciate it. Antonio, I know you had a question. Let me turn it over to you.
Thank you, Deborah. No, I'm very interested in you were mentioning that you are able to look at projects coming from different parts of the world. There's so much knowledge being generated. So many people provide different types of solutions. But how can we able to find a way where solutions that we find in one place can be shared and maybe implemented in a different place where they are looking for a solution that already exists, but they just don't know it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, this is maybe the best question that you can ask me, because this is all what we're here for. No? We call this the context of innovations. Is of course crucial. No? If someone develops something extraordinary, let's say Sweden or Norway or the UK, Austria, there's of course a big mistrust from anyone in an African context to say, well, what they are doing is not really relevant for us, and vice versa. No? So getting the context right, getting also the story right. No? So it is a lot on storytelling in a neutral way, in a positive way. If you tell the innovation of, to give you an example, we have found a quite innovative and easy to replicate model in India. That's a support line which does not need the internet, it just needs mobile phones, doesn't need smartphones. So almost everyone in an Indian or a low-income country has a kind of mobile phone, and it can also use them with a lot of costs. This is a really support system. You can type in something, dial in something, use SMS, and you get a really on-demand service with smartphones. With mobile phones. Smartphones, there are a lot of models out, but this works on mobile phones. And to get this story out, for example, that there is a mobile phone model, and this mobile phone works only also in areas where there is no real grid. You have just solar energy. This works also there because people can charge their mobile phones there. No? And to tell this story in this way makes it easier for other people to understand the uniqueness of these models. So there's a lot on telling the story and understanding what makes it unique and special, but also, and this is also one of the new approaches that we're developing this year, also to get a kind of community around these models, sticking with this mobile phone application. who would be most interested in that? That's of course decision makers in countries that are maybe somehow related to India, maybe also that see themselves on a similar income level, maybe NGOs who want to implement this, maybe governments who want to provide new solutions, maybe public funding agencies who are looking for things to share. Yeah, and we want to build these communities. That's a new approach, bringing people together. But this is where we, being a foundation where services as natural to end at some point, we are not consultants. We cannot. We want to bring people together, not more, not less, and then hopefully we something new develops, a conversation starts, some invitations start to be sent out and accepted. Some publications appear where these innovations are described. Some media articles are published and shared. Some social media campaign is using the models, so and some UN agencies gets a focus and invites them to speak. So this is what where we see our work and where we see the impact that we created. And we're trying more and more to measure this to also improve and see what actually happens.
And I think that that's really aligned with our mission here at Access Chat as well. We see ourselves as partly as a community and partly as matchmakers and connectors. You know, essentially what we're doing is we're again curating good practice around the world. So the you know, some of the things that we're doing, although albeit through slightly different means and methods, I think it is greatly aligned. And I was in a conversation the other day with someone that is doing charity and development work in Africa around neurodiversity and so on. And again, we were talking about mobile phone distribution and the innovation on mobiles. And she said, well, but there's even diversity within country, because actually there are huge conurbations in Africa where smartphones are ubiquitous. You've got your own smartphone brands, and all of the rest of it. So and they're relatively, I'm not going to say inexpensive, because this technology is not inexpensive, but they're relatively affordable because people have employment and all of the rest of it. And then you've also got the areas where there's very low connectivity, very low electrical power. Actually, you're more likely to have phone signal than you are to have electricity. So I think that I'm also interested in the innovation that people can bring. Like we interviewed Tony recently, for Tony Ellis, who's an inventor. He was a toy maker, but he's also invented this sort of portable power device, which is like the old Trevor Bayliss radio, the clockwork radio, but this thing uses supercapacitors. So you can wind up and you can create enough power to sort of light the house, charge the mobile devices, and all of this stuff within relatively few minutes of little effort. And then you're enabling people to then, with the connectivity, access information, access tools, access all of these things that you wouldn't have because you can't get power. And of course, it's not reliant on solar, because you need this at night. But again, it's trying to bring all of these people together, and also not assuming that expensive tech is always the answer. I think is something that I'm always really keen to see, that innovation is coming from unexpected places, like toy making, where they keep costs super low, like around mobile money and the way that they communicate in Africa, like the sort of community of photographers in India that are using smartphones to help young people with disabilities and cancer cope with their illnesses, but also come back out into society. So it's eclectic, and we're not trying to make money from what we're doing, but we see the You know, we see the power in connectivity. And I think that's what's really interesting about Zero as well. You're connecting people because it's through making those connections that we have this incredible sort of fertilization of sort of inclusion topics and so on.
Yeah, I think you're raising a really interesting topic, and I think only on this we could expand for 2 hours, talking about these innovation processes. No? Thinking of it, the problem is not that there are not enough innovations around. The problem is that not everything that's innovative is also good and really works on the ground. No? And many people have developed this attitude. Everyone every day I get some information about something that works. I don't know. It's cost me so much time and effort to have a look at it, and there's an attitude against dealing with the new. No? With many decision makers, it's a risk. There's always a higher risk in doing something new than continuing with the old. No? And what you're doing and we are doing is also to get ahead of this, no? To create something where also the big decision makers are listening. No? In our case, it's not that we have an in-depth research and you're definitely closer to the ground than we are, but we have this broad scope and these many people involved, and also you have a big selection and variety of innovations, and you can pick the ones that you're interested in at a conference, on a website, in a report. This is a kind of also a value in itself, that decision makers are listening, no? And interested, and you're overcoming this hurdle of over information and of this against innovation attitude that are normally not addressed. No? But I think this is a role that we both play. No?
Yeah.
I think what we should do on Access Chat is we should encourage the people we think are being innovative to apply for the Zero Project Awards. Yeah, we really should, because we have some really, really interesting guests. And but Michael, I'm curious about two things, and I'm going to apologize. I know these are big questions, so, but I also know you got it. But I would be curious because, as you know, because all three of you are going to be partners, we're creating Billion Strong about identity, encouraging people with disabilities to really be empowered and live their best lives. But what I don't know is where it's really going to go after it's all said and done. So I would be curious, based on what, because you're very innovative now, but to even have started this is very, very innovative too. But so I'm curious what lessons you've learned as you walked along the path. And I'm also curious about, where does Zero Project hope to go? Because I would like you to please consider Access Chat as one of your partners, because we want to help more, because we really believe in what you're doing. But how can other people help more as well?
Yeah, well, thank you for this. So I start with the lessons learned. I think what made this Zero Project as it is, that we started with a vision, and the vision was rather broad, being a tool to support the implementation of the UN CRPD, but we also were able to change the mission and adapt and really listen to the needs of the users, and actually it's the end user. No? Of course, you also need your peers, but you really have to be in constant touch with the people who are the beneficiaries and the users. That's what we're here for. No? But normally, talking now about me, my peers are, as we all have our peers, there is a group of some 100, 200 people, some with disabilities, some without, but all of them are some in a privileged position. No? But not to lose the touch to the ground and to the grassroots, what is actually needed, and have some kind of soundboards on the ground. You know, so that would be an advice. Of course, you also need to develop your relationships and your collaborations and your cooperations, and I think this is what made us in the end grow. Thinking of it, you and many others are interested in the Zero Project, working with us, giving us your time, you give us your expertise. Many give us a lot of time and a lot of expertise when nominating takes an hour or two, or maybe even longer. No? And many people give us a time to peer review, to vote, they come to the conference. So I think people give us every year tens of thousands of hours of time and of expertise. Why are they doing this? No? So you have to create this this kind of win-win situations. I think everyone talks about win-win for 20 years. but actually it's like this. And a win could also be that it's fun, that it's entertaining, that you have a kind of, you can score, you are a kind of jury, you can connect, you find people who find your work interesting, you get new people that chat with you, that and to create models that are easy to understand, transparent, and are also fun and create additional value to everyone involved. If I would have to pay anyone for giving us a vote or for nominate, this would be unaffordable. No? And I think maybe it's, I don't know exactly what you're up to, but I think that would be the same thing. People should have an incentive, not because they're getting paid, but more intrinsically because it's fun. You see the value. There are different motivations, but you have to find them and engage with the people. So that would be some 2 advices from how the Zero project developed. Should I mention already the next call for nomination on that we start on May 3rd?
Yes, please.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so you encouraged me. There's actually a real windows of opportunity to engage with the Zero project. So we're already in the countdown mode to May 3rd. On May 3rd, we're launching our a new what we call the call for nomination. The topic is accessibility. We will share the link for the nomination platform broadly, and also with Access Chat, of course, many times. I know this now. Will not forget. And what we're looking for is in the core the Article 9 of the CRPD, accessibility. So we're looking at built environment, we're looking at infrastructure and transportation, looking at product and services, and we're looking at ICT. We have a special focus on tourism, where also business community comes in, hopefully in big numbers. We're looking at, 4 years ago, we had zoos, we had YMCAs, we had theme parks, we had, but at the same time, we had in-house smart home communication tools, urban planning models, universal design, planned things, devices, design, but also, of course, a lot on ICT, orientation system, communication system. So everything that supports accessibility is this year's topic. The call will be open until for 4 or 5 weeks in June. So there's plenty of time to nominate in that time. So we really hope that the Access Chat community comes in big this time. Yeah.
Great. Well, we'll make sure that we try and engage them during the chat and encourage them to also suggest some things that they think might be worth nominating as part of the chat next week. So thank you, Michael. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you. Yes, we could definitely go on for several hours more. So looking forward to continuing the conversation on Twitter on Tuesday. Need to also thank the people that keep our lights on and keep us captioned. So that will be our friends at Barclays Access, Microlink, and also my clear text. So thank you, everyone, and special thanks to Michael and Zero Project.
Thanks all of you, and thanks for having me.